Well, good Monday morning to you. Welcome to our Monday morning live edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show. I'm your host, Jim Tabor, along with Doctors Jim and Janine Fox of Doctor's Nutrition, located on Callan Lorraine Road in Gulfport, just south of Pass Road. We do this every Monday morning. If you're just tuning in for the first time, maybe you're one of our straggling cruisers out there and we thank you for your, I know people complain about that, but that brings a lot of money into the economy down here.
Yes, it does.
Over 10,000 cruisers registered. We broke another record this year. But anyway, we do this every Monday morning. It is a live call-in show in which we pick a topic and we invite you to call in and ask questions regarding that topic or anything you might have, a question you might have regarding your health, because that's what this show is all about, helping you live a healthier lifestyle. Our phone number is 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. Well, October is, of course, we know is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And I've talked so much in the past about that, but we're going to talk this morning about the importance of early detection. And early diagnosis of cancer focuses on detecting symptomatic patients as early as possible that gives them the best chance for survival and successful treatment. When cancer care is delayed or inaccessible, there's a lower chance of survival, greater problems associated with treatment, and higher costs for care. So what are the benefits to early detection screenings?
Well, it's just like anything else. The earlier you find out you have it, especially cancer, in the early stages, it's much easier to treat, or much better. You have a better chance of surviving it, and that's the key. If you do have a cancer and you detect it early enough, some cancers, take pancreatic cancer, just not found early enough in a lot of people, and usually when it does, it can be very devastating to that person. So, the earlier you detect something that's going wrong, better chance you got of getting it fixed.
Yeah, that's why we wanted to talk about all cancer detection, just because the NFL decided to do that recently. Mm-hmm. They haven't went all pink, and they went more what they call critical catch, and it is a critical catch.
Yeah.
You really need to catch it early, because if you catch it early, like he said, you do have a much better chance of surviving. And so, we always stress prevention. So, of course, we always stress prevention. To me, it's something that prevention is the best. But if you do have something, you want to catch it earlier. You don't want to wait until it has spread and metastasized. And everybody out there that knows what that means knows it's not good once that hits. So it is.
Well, that's
important.
In most cases when it comes to your health. If you catch it early.
Anything.
Catch it early, and start treating it early instead of waiting until.
Yeah, even something like high blood pressure. If you have it for years.
Yeah.
You've already gotten heart enlargement and all kind of stuff by the time you find it.
Common cold.
So anything's easier if you catch it earlier.
If you wait until a common cold has got you knocked down, and then try to treat it, get over it. It's just going to have to take time and to do it. I mean, your body's at a deficit to begin with. Same thing with cancer. If you find out you've got a little lump or something, bump here and there or whatever it might be, your body better than anybody else. And if something's not quite right, or you don't feel like it's right, you want to get it checked out. Yeah. And because it may just be, it may be nothing. It may, who knows? But you want to find out what it is.
Well, that's one of the things that we mentioned, and we talk about, living down here on the South so much, is the fact that you're out in the sun.
Yeah.
And you see something pop up on your arm or on your skin. I mean, I have people all the time ask me about this on my head. Well, I have it checked every year. Yeah. And I know it's just almost like a birthmark or something like that. But you have something pop up in your arm or whatever. I mean, skin cancer. I mean, that's can be bad if you don't catch it.
Yeah, and the good thing is that's really easy. Go to a dermatologist. They are really good at looking at it. Yeah. They can actually most of the time just look at something and say, that's nothing. That's kind of how they do. So you want to really skin cancer detection. You want to go to somebody that's used to looking at it. Yeah. I have people come and ask us. I am not a dermatologist. I am not an expert to tell them. I always say, oh, no, you need to go to the dermatologist. You need to go get them to look at it, because they can look at it under their little loop, and they immediately can tell you usually either work, and if they don't know for sure, they'll take a biopsy, and then they'll see. Mm-hmm. So we do tell people, a lot of people that come in and ask me, I definitely send them to the dermatologist.
Oh yeah, that's something that, I'm like you, I go.
He goes every year.
Every year, and they find something. I mean, it may, I don't, it's.
Well, you're like me, you're out in the sun a lot. I mean, you're working,
he
you're
covers
working out in the garden.
He covers up as much as I can. I mean, I kind of like crazy.
But he has fair skin. He actually, he does,
I'll burn real easy.
He does burn easy, and he has had a skin cancer.
I've had several.
And And at the time that it was detected, his skin cancer, it was a rough spot that kept itching.
Yeah.
And so it was a rough spot that kept itching. And he had other spots on him that he thought was more likely to be cancer. So he goes to get checked, and they're like, no, it's this one that's the problem. So it's hard to tell sometimes which one's a problem and which one's not without somebody that's actually trained to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
And we are not. So we are not saying come to us and let us look.
No,
because,
if you see something on your body or whatever that doesn't look right,
go get it checked though.
You know, whether you can see it yourself or, you know, I think a great thing too, if you're out in the sun a lot or whatever, without a shirt on, working without a shirt on, you know, have your significant other, check.
Now, I do
check
say if
your
you have
back
a spot on you that you've had forever and it starts changing.
Yeah.
That's
A change. A change in where something looks, irregularity is
Color.
definitely, it doesn't have to be
Coloration.
colored. The one that his was not discolored at all.
Really?
No.
Nope. It was an itchy, dry spot that never didn't get itchy and dry no matter what he put on it. He
got
had
me
put every
looking at my arms now.
he had put every lotion
You
and
could put
potion
bacon
and
grease on it. It wasn't going to get it off. So,
Can't burn it off.
didn't
huh?
matter
Yeah.
what he put on it, and that was the one that in him was a skin cancer. But that was years ago, and now he gets checked every year. And
yeah.
prevention, again, you want to make sure before something gets
See,
out of hand.
You know, we talk about prevention a lot, and the thing, probably the first thing in prevention is early detection of anything you've got. I don't care what it is, whether it's heart disease, cancer, whatever.
Yeah.
Early detection is step number one as far as prevention goes. And if you've got a family history, then, you know, okay, that just kind of points you down that road a little faster, so to speak. So that's kind of what we're looking at on prevention, is making sure that you do it early as humanly possible. Yeah.
All right, here we got a caller with a question. I've been taking Estravera for hot flashes. Is there any other supplement that can improve the flashes?
Yes. Actually, we have Metabalance. We have Minifem. Minifem might come back order. There's different supplements that we have for that, and everybody is different.
Yes.
I have many people that the Estravera works immediately and great. Myself, I took it and it didn't help at all. So it's just one of those so I know that in some people it just doesn't work as well. But that's with anything. You never know until you try it. And then, but what I use, and the only thing I use, is I actually use a very, very, very weak natural bioidentical estrogen. It's called it's E3 cream. So it's actually a cream that you put on, but some people can't do that one, depending on if they've had breast cancer, and depending on if they've had, type of hormonal cancer, you can't do that one. You can do Estravera. So just come by the store and talk to me, and we'll see if we can find something maybe better for you.
Yeah.
All right. 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. Our phone lines are open to you. We're talking about the importance of early cancer prevention and detection. 8 minutes after 9 o'clock, we'll take a break. We'll be right back. And welcome back to our Monday morning live edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show. It's 9 minutes after 9 o'clock. We're talking about the importance of early screening for cancer, as it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But we're talking about all kinds of cancers, why it's important to do that. What are some important means of early cancer detection?
Means?
Probably which test?
Which test?
There's the common ones that everybody knows. Your mammograms for breast cancer.
Right.
Your lung x-rays for lung cancer, especially if you are a smoker.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a smoker, you really do need it. They don't always do that, but you should. If you're a smoker, go to your doctor and get a chest x-ray. There's the colonoscopies for your colon cancer. Now, for people that are not at risk at colon cancer, there's actually something called Cologuard. That's a really good test. To me, it's non-invasive, and it actually, now if it shows a positive, then you would have to have a colonoscopy, but it is actually where it's just a stool test. You just give them a sample, and then they test for genetic cancer detection that way. So that's one of the most common ones. Of course, you have your pap smears for women for cervical cancer, and they test for HPV. If you know you have HPV, you're at increased risk for some cancers. So those are the kind of the normal, a PSA for a man for prostate cancer. And those are kind of your normal paid by insurance regularly tests. But there's a lot more available that people don't know about.
And probably another one, because we've got a lot of good old boys down here that like to use smokeless tobacco.
Yeah.
So if there's something there, you probably need to get your gums checked or something.
Yeah.
Well, if there's any kind of
exactly.
lesions and so on.
Any type of lesions, and usually your ENTs are good at looking for that and detecting that. And of course, we've already talked about the skin, getting your skin checked. Those are your common ones. But there is a lot of other markers that are done that's just not necessarily covered by insurance, just to check, just for no reason. Now, if there's reasons, they'll pay to check them, but just for no reason at all, they do not. And one of the big ones that we do a lot is called a CA-125, and it is for detection of ovarian cancer. We do a lot of those because people have read about it, and ovarian cancer is one of those cancers that you really don't find early because the symptoms of ovarian cancer can mimic every different thing. Bloating, digestive issues, back pain,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, that could be anything, you know, so people have those symptoms and they don't tie it with that until it gets really advanced. So it's one of the cancers that's not found until very advanced.
And I think you brought up a good point. And the point is, you know, there's some things insurance companies will pay for, but you personally need to say, okay, I don't care whether the insurance company will pay for this or not. If I think I might have, you know, I've got this bloat, for instance, the bloating, the digestive issues that don't seem to respond to anything, that kind of thing. It's a good idea to look at that CA-125, and it's not an expensive test.
No, we do it for $25,
Yeah.
so it's actually an inexpensive test. And now, just and let you know about any cancer screening, we need to tell you all this. Not all, there's no screening that is 100%.
True.
There is false positives and false negatives in all of them.
Yep.
So, but it does tell you if something shows up positive, it doesn't mean you have cancer. It means you need to look further. So that's kind of what these tests are doing. There's no end all, like, okay, a biopsy is more of your end all.
That's it.
You know, this is exactly this. But with the screenings and just these blood tests you can do, it just tells you need to look a little further. So just because it's positive does not mean you have it. And there are people that it doesn't show up until it's more advanced, and so just because it's negative don't mean you have it. But it's just another thing that you can do.
You know, and to me, and it brings me back to what I call the scariest words in medicine. Well, we'll just watch it.
Right.
That just scares the bejesus out of me. I got news for you. If I've got something that's not right, and they say, well, let's just watch it, I want to be a little bit more proactive than that. I want to find out, okay, if we're going to watch it, I want to have 2 sets of eyes on it, or at least, you know, or more. And so I want to do a little bit more than just watch it. I want to get in there and see. And then if I think that there's something wrong, it's going to bring us to the next part that we're going to do one of these days, is prevention. You know, how do we prevent it? Or how do we, if we think we might be developing something, and you know, and this kind of, that's what this early detection stuff, you know, if you do a test and thank God you don't have any of these markers are positive, you say, well, okay, well, I don't want this particular issue to crop up. What can I do to prevent it from happening? And then you can monitor it or watch, you know, watch it, so to speak, every 6 months or something like that, and see, am I okay? Am I still okay?
Because like him saying, you're watching it. We've had multiple people over the years that we see stuff on their regular lab work that puts us alarmed that something else is going on. And we always, if we think something else is going on, we send them to their doctor, because that isn't where we do nutrition, we do screenings, but we, you know, I'd say you really need to go get this checked. Well, their doctor keeps telling them, don't worry about it. We'll just watch it. And I'm like, no, you can't. There's something going on. I'm telling you, something is going on. And they go to multiple doctors and everybody tells them to watch it. And every person I have ever had that feeling about, in the end, had cancer. And I knew it, but I couldn't figure out, you know, we couldn't tell where it was. Right. We don't do that kind of testing. Right. So we do have a test now that we looked for because we wanted to see, okay, if I have that feeling about somebody, which is not that often, and I'm not, I mean, it really isn't. More people think they have cancer, and you're like, no, I don't see any markers that show it, and they usually don't. But there has been those ones that you just know it. It's like, no, I know it. So there is a test we found called Galleri. It's Galleri. You can go online, you can read all about it. They have a lot of information, all the research about it. There's been some really big institutions help them study it. It is not covered by insurance, and it is not a cheap test. No. But it checks for 50 different cancers from a single blood test. Wow. And it looks for the ones that are most likely to show up are the more aggressive cancers. The more aggressive a cancer is, the more likely it is to show up on this test. Like prostate cancer, unfortunately, is not one of the ones it's really good at detecting unless it's advanced, because it's very slow growing usually. So this test we have started doing. And so we do offer it as a screening, because it is a screening test. It is not an FDA approved test. It has been studied at a lot of the major cancer centers, so you can get online and look at their site and tell. But it costs $1,045, so it's not cheap. And I don't think everybody needs to run out and do it.
No.
I think it needs to be, if you see somebody that you're like, something is going on and you can't find it, it does point you. It doesn't just say there's cancer. It does point you to where it probably is.
Wow.
It does. It tells you the type of cancer.
Wow.
And they're pretty accurate on the type and location of where it is. And again, that test, just because they have false positives. So you might end up with a lot of extra testing if it's false positive and then they don't show anything. The company does offer running the test. If it's a positive, you get every other test done and it doesn't show cancer, they'll do it again in 3 months for free. Because they say because a lot of times they're too early to even find.
Right.
It's very early detection from this type of cancer. So I wanted to let people know, people don't realize that is very new type testing.
Yeah.
And so it is available. So if you think there is something going on, it's a good test to do. You know, like I said, I don't think everybody needs to run out and do it. It's expensive, but it is something that is available.
All right. 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. Our phone lines are open to you. It's 17 minutes now after 9 o'clock. We'll take a break. We'll be back with this week's special and our final segment. And welcome back. It's 20 minutes after 9 o'clock. It's our final segment this morning for the Doctor's Nutrition Show. Let's go ahead and look at what this week's special is. And
yeah, it's high-strength resveratrol, and it's a very potent, if you will, or high-strength form of resveratrol. And resveratrol is probably one of the biggest researched, most well-researched supplements, if you can, or plant extracts on cancer prevention and even cancer treatment in some cases. So thought we'd throw that in.
It's a great antioxidant.
Great antioxidant.
It's good for bone density, and it's really big research on anti-aging.
Yeah.
So that's a plus too.
what other cancer screenings are available?
Okay, there's a few, and we did have a caller call in and want to know the one that we just talked about, which with bloating and digestive issues, and that's a CA-125, which is for ovarian cancer. There is other just blood tests, and the blood tests run usually between $25, $35 each. So they're all a hair different.
Yeah.
But another big one we do a lot is called a CEA, and it's just a very broad cancer marker. Gastrointestinal is a big marker for that one.
Yeah, that's where it's.
But I've had a recent lady that hers was doubling every few weeks, and it was lung cancer. But it was a mucoid cancer, and mucoid cancers always have a high CEA. There's the CA-19-9, which is another one that I think is important because it's for pancreatic cancer, and pancreatic cancer also usually has a positive CEA. That's another cancer that doesn't get found until late, like we talked about a few minutes ago. There's a few breast cancer markers that are really used in medicine to follow breast cancer if you have it. But of course, if it's elevated, it's something you definitely want to go look at. And that is a CA-15-3 and a CA-27-29. There's also, like I said, there's so many of these markers that you can do. And then on the PSA side.
Well, the PSA side, and I, guys are always come in and say, well, I want to do my PSA. The regular PSA that you get done routinely, I think costs like $25. Doesn't tell you a lot, really. I mean, honestly, it might tell you it's a little elevated, but there's something called a free PSA. And what it does is it breaks it down into the free and bound components. The more free components you got, the less likelihood of it being cancer, even if you have an elevated PSA.
Right.
So we always suggest to do that. It costs about 10 or 12 bucks more. It's like 35 or something like that.
Yeah, it's a little bit more, but not a lot.
Yeah. And it's well worth it because
it's a more accurate test.
Yeah, and I always say, especially if a guy tends to run a little higher PSA, so to speak, than
is that a fasting test?
No.
All your cancer markers
pretty
are
much
not fasting.
No.
Okay.
A lot of times people come in and do the full panel, and then we'll add it to it, because another really important test is a CBC.
Oh yeah.
Your blood counts, which is on all of our panels, just because a CBC is your blood counts, but all your blood cancers tend to show on that. And then when you show the CMP has all your proteins, and when those are totally out of whack, then that points to doing further testing for even some of the blood cancers as well. So some of your normal, that's why I say there's things that show up on normal lab work, and that's the normal lab work. But the extra ones are actually the cancer antigens.
Yeah.
That's what the CA usually stands for, is cancer antigen, or except for the 19-9, which is carbohydrate antigen. So it stands for a little bit different thing. But all of those are just good markers, and what you got to look at is, are you at risk? Do you have family history? Although, just because you don't have family history does not mean you can't get it. Because we are seeing so many first-time cancer. people come in, they're like, nobody in my family's ever had this. No, nobody's had this. Now I have it. So we are seeing more, and the more contamination, of course, we have in our environment, the increased cancer risk you have.
A lot of that is brought on environmental.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So because the more that you are exposed environmentally, the increased risk you have anyway. So, but that does make it, but you got to look at all your risk. You look at all of it and decide what you need to have done. Yeah. And I mean, everybody knows about the BRCA genes, but that's more genetic testing. We're not talking about that. Genetic testing is totally different than the actual markers.
Yeah. And the thing, when you start talking about all these tests and everything, what is your peace of mind worth? I mean, I think that comes down to it. When you say, well, gee, I don't know. I mean, I've got this problem. I have this like GI problem or something. You're a female, and nothing seems to help it. Okay, do a simple test. Find out, is it really a GI problem, or is it something else? Could it be something else? It's worth a few bucks to find out. Peace of mind. Yeah. Okay, it's not. We do a CA-125. Okay, good. We're in pretty good shape. You can rest easy. I would still say probably, maybe 6 months down the road, if you still got the same problem, redo the test. Because like I say, there's false positives, false negatives. So look at it again, but this is being proactive on your own health.
Right.
And that's the key to living longer, and actually for the anti-aging thing. And healthier.
Yeah.
The big thing with longevity is pay attention to what's going on. If you got something, people pay more attention to their car than they do their health.
Yeah.
They always do this. But if you just pay attention a little bit to what's going on in your body and something's not quite right, then start finding out why.
Yeah, that's why we've always said you need to do the full lab screenings once a year.
Right.
And that kind of looks at another big risk factor, not that it's a cancer marker, but vitamin D deficiency.
Yes.
Big cancer risk if you have really low vitamin D, which we see a lot. It's amazing how many people have low vitamin D. So all that's on the regular screenings, and that's why we always suggest doing that once a year. Now the cancer screenings, I don't think everybody has to do every one of them all the time. It just depends on what's going on with you, and we can help you maybe decide if that's good for you, or if you just want to do it.
And I guess especially if there's a history of it in your family, you might.
I have a breast cancer history, so I always do the CA-125 ovarian cancer goes along with breast cancer, so I always do that one every year. I don't do every other one. I have in the past. I've done here, one there, just kind of occasionally just to see, but I always do the CA-125 for me. So everybody's got to look at what fits them, and that's what we're there to talk to you, figure out what you might need.
Right.
But I just wanted people to know they're available, because people don't realize that you can actually get them checked. And so that's one of the things, people read about it on the internet and they think, well, I can't get this done anywhere. Well, you can.
Yeah. Because it's, like I say, it's one of those things that medicine's messed up for one reason. I had an old doctor tell me this 40-some years ago. He said the biggest problem was with healthcare in America is insurance, and it truly is. Because insurance will only pay for certain things. So, okay, if insurance doesn't pay for it, it doesn't exist, I guess. Well, it does exist, and it can bite you. So you need to. That's why we talk about early detection, prevention. You just want to try to live longer.
More tests than just your minimum.
Right.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Next week.
Next week we're going to talk about. We're going to continue the topic, but it's going to be supplements that are researched for cancer prevention.
Right.
So we're going to talk about, there's a lot of research out there on cancer prevention, and I think people just need to know what's out there where they can prevent, especially if it is high risk, if you're at high risk.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
Exactly.
Thank you for joining us on this morning's show. Hope you got some great information from it on that. It's 27 after 9 o'clock, and we will see you again next Monday morning here on the Doctor's Nutrition Show. Have a great week.
For more information on highlighting your business and services on Healthy Living South Mississippi, contact Jim Tabor at 896-1313.